For thousands of years, God's people have worked hard to stay free from false religious practices. Sadly though, businessmen in today's world will sometimes try to trick people to make money. By carefully researching the products that we use, we can protect ourselves from deceptive businessmen. Even back in Bible times, people's opinions differed. What one Christian would find unacceptable, another might say, I don't really see the problem. My goal here is simply to tell you the truth. Consider it as just one person's opinion based on his research, nothing more. This isn't a rule to live by, it's just what I've researched, what I've found. So today we're going to look at a device called the Healy. It claims to use frequencies to heal people. Let's look at the inventor. It's a German man, he's called Markus Schmicke.
The product itself, it's very much connected to my own way, how I got to this product, to my own story, which people I met in my life.
Okay, so he said that it's linked to his life. So I guess that's what we need to look into. Let's see what that's about.
Markus Schmicke, he was actually a monk, and I'm sure he can share a little bit about his very, very interesting story in a second. And the inventor of this quantum sensor and the technology behind it, we just combined to science. So what we are doing right now, we're really combining non-physical phenomena with science.
So he says combining non-physical phenomena with science. So this is not just science. What exactly is the non-physical phenomena that he's talking about?
We're really combining non-physical phenomena with science.
So when he markets it to the world, he claims it's all science. But this is where he actually says he had to go way beyond what he learned in science.
There were more questions, and I had no idea how university could answer them. So I decided I need to go another way. I need to go deeply into consciousness. I have to leave everything else aside. And this is what you're doing if you become a monk, especially if you become a monk in a very old spiritual tradition in India, which are completely focused on consciousness and not on the external.
So he says that his product is linked to his life journey, but that involves being a monk. So, as a salesman, has he already told everyone this? Is it possible that he's lied or misrepresented his product?
So I decided I need to go another way. I need to go deeply into consciousness. I have to leave everything else aside. And this is what you're doing if you become a monk, especially if you become a monk in a very old spiritual tradition in India, which are completely focused on consciousness and not on the external.
I worry that even if we read carefully everything that he gave us, all of his marketing material, I worry that there are sides of his product that he might not have told everyone about. This is what he says to his close friends.
Healy we place as a product in the market on purely on the basis of frequencies. But you know, it's about frequencies and it's about information field. But we are not stressing information field too much because difficult to understand for the people in the beginning, the concept. But here I can talk about it.
Could it be that he's marketing this in a way that appeals to a larger audience than it maybe should? He says we placed it in the marketplace on the basis of frequencies, but then he says to his friends, but you know that it's about frequencies and information field. Could he be deceptive? Notice that he says about the word information field. I believe that that word hides something deeper. Even the word information field, it sounds scientific, but science actually doesn't recognize it at all. Looking on the official Healy website, we find near the bottom of the page this disclaimer. Science does not acknowledge the existence of the information field. Therefore, according to Healy, this is not a scientific principle, even though it's, in my opinion, it's very often marketed as if it is science. I don't believe that it is because the inventor says it's not. That's what their official website says. So, if, as the website says, science does not acknowledge the existence of the information field, well, what is it? And where did this idea come from? Let's find out.
You have to look into consciousness, vibration, and frequency. And there's another concept, and that's extremely important, because even the basis of, there is a basis of frequencies and vibration, which connects it with its consciousness. And this is Akash. And Akash is not really the level, what you said, it's space, but it's much deeper. It's the level of information.
Because we haven't dabbled in false religion, someone can just say Akash or Akasha, which is another way that it's pronounced, and we might not have any idea what they're talking about. It could literally just go over our heads. For that reason, I strongly advocate, please, if the person who's given you the Healy device, if they had no idea about this concept, please don't blame them. They didn't know what they were doing. So let's just summarize what we've learned so far. The inventor used to be a monk. He learned about Akash or Akasha. He says that this is what the machine really is working on, but that the marketing material that he produces doesn't really focus on that. In my opinion, I feel like he's being deceptive, at least not telling people the whole story. And so I blame him for this deception. I don't blame those who perhaps didn't know about this stuff. But at the same time, we really need to know, what is Akash or Akasha? What's it linked to? And what exactly happens when people connect to it? Would you like to hear what the experts on this say? Let's find out. On Encyclopedia Britannica, under Akashic Record, Occultism, we read just like what Marcus Schmieke said. It says, Akashic Record in occultism is a compendium of pictorial records or memories of all events, actions, thoughts, and feelings that have occurred since the beginning of time. They are said to be imprinted on Akasha, the astral light, which is described by spiritualists as a fluid ether existing beyond the range of human senses. The Akashic records are reputedly accessible to certain select individuals, e.g. a spiritualist medium who conducts a seance. Akasha allegedly transmits the waves of human willpower, thought, feeling, and imagination, and is a reservoir of occult power, an ocean of unconsciousness to which all are linked, making prophecy and clairvoyance possible.
I found, again, leaving physics aside and looking into the oldest texts which humanity has, the oldest scriptures, and they all talk about consciousness, vibration, and frequency. It's called Akash in Sanskrit. You have heard this. The
Yes.
Akasha Chronic, yeah? So the Akasha Chronic is another important concept, which is very important for Healy.
Just to be absolutely 100% clear that he is indeed mixing his spirituality, his spiritual concepts, into his inventions, let me show you just one last video. This is him speaking with his friend about his previous invention called Time Waver, which was like a precursor to the Healy machine. Here we see that he definitely 100% claims that he is combining spirituality, spiritual concepts, with what he believes is science. Please watch.
Tell us, how did you eventually connect spirituality and your findings and your discovery from the time you were a monk into the quantum physics, into the science, into the technology, and into building the time waver?
Yes, actually, the question comes at the right moment, because telling my story, I'm just arriving at this point. Because at one point I realized, oh my God, what I'm looking in here in the laboratory of consciousness means being a monk, but as a monk also looking into the old knowledge, both sides come to the same point, that you have to look into consciousness, vibration, and frequency. And there's another concept, and that's extremely important, because even the basis of, there is a basis of frequencies and vibration, which connects it with its consciousness. And this is Akash. And Akash is not really the level, what you said, it's space, but it's much deeper. It's the level of information. level of information behind space, how space is structured, which vibration appears at which point in the space, at which time, what is the exact frequency. This is information, this is numbers. So information is the basis of the whole concept.
So let's summarize what we've learned so far. Firstly, this isn't to judge. Everyone has to make their own decision. But what does the inventor himself say that he's basing his invention on? He says it's based on spirituality, blending it with what he thinks is science. But his website, which is more carefully written, says actually science doesn't recognize this concept at all. So if it's not science, but it is spirituality, is that something that we want to dabble with? The December study edition, December 2015, of the Watchtower, contained an article right near the end called "Jehovah Will Sustain You." At the end of paragraph 16 it says, "Some diagnostic devices or forms of treatment are described as using a secret substance or body force. That warrants serious caution, because God warned against the use of magical power and spirit mediums. If we decide that we want to use an invisible, powerful force to heal ourselves, one that science doesn't recognize, are we really obeying Jehovah? Are we living as a true Christian? Or might we be giving in to one of Satan's traps? What do you think that those invisible, powerful forces could be?" Those who obey Jehovah do not get involved with powerful, invisible forces which are rooted in false worship. So let's stay faithful. Let's avoid and resist anything that could compromise our relationship with Jehovah or that could bring us into contact with demons. Like the faithful ones in Bible times, let's stay away from the things which Satan maybe wants God's people to fall victim to.